Hey, Rock Doc fans! Neil Ratner, Rock Doc here with something new. Reading time. About a year ago, I came out with a book, Rock Doc. Pretty much the story of my life. And I thought it would be fun if each week on Facebook I did a live reading, serialized the book. And if I get to something that I left out or I can think of a funny story, I'll interject that as well. All right, so the book took quite a long time to write. It took me about 5 years to write. And I'm quite proud of it. So without further ado, Rock Doc by me, Neil Ratner, MD. Okay, so let's start off. The first chapter is called Who Did You Say Was Coming to the Office? All right. Now, maybe I should give you a little background that I am a real doctor and basically two dreams in life. One was to be a rock star drummer. One was to be a doctor. Ended up in the business, part of the business for about 5 years, 6 years, and then I went off and became a doctor. And the book basically starts, I'm a anesthesiologist, and I've started a practice in giving anesthesia in doctors' offices, and that's all I'm going to tell you. All right, here it is, Rock Doc by Neil Ratner, MD. Okay. Oh, you know what? Old eyes, man. Got to put the glasses on. I forgot. All right, so here we go. Who did you say was coming to the office? All right. When the phone rang in the middle of the day and the caller was Dr. Edgar Summers, I knew something was up. Neil, I'm adding a patient to our schedule for tomorrow. He'll call you in the next half hour. I had been director of anesthesia for Dr. Summers' in-office operating room on and off for the past 8 years. I wondered what was so interesting about this patient that Summers had not only called me himself, but had given out my number. I usually got the patient's number and called the night before surgery. Warily, I asked, "Is there something special I need to know?" "Don't you want to know who it is?" I could hear the excitement in Summers' voice. Edgar Summers, a well-known plastic surgeon, liked to impress me with the A-list celebrities he had as patients. That's the way it was in his business. The more famous the people you operated on were, the more of a star you became. Usually, I didn't care that much about the star power of our patients. I'd been in the rock and roll business, dealing with celebrities on a daily basis, and as a result, I didn't get impressed easily. This was helpful because in the specialty of anesthesia, it's essential to treat all patients alike. You develop a routine, and it's necessary to stick to that routine. When a doctor starts making exceptions for celebrities, or anyone else for that matter, bad things happen. And I guess I'll have to interject here that if you read about what happened to comedian Joan Rivers, I think that's exactly what happened. So again, you got to pay attention, particularly if you're an anesthesiologist. Okay. Where was I? Okay, so, I don't know, I answered half-heartedly. Should I care who the patient is? Dealing with the rich and famous could be a pain in the ass. Their desire for an extreme level of care and attention, their outrageous demands, and their sense of entitlement often made their cases far more difficult to handle than they had to be. Like the time a celebrated opera singer insisted that I use only one small vein on his thumb to insert the IV. Or the time a Hollywood starlet claimed to be allergic to every drug known to man. Two examples that were very true and actually happened. It was plastic surgery, there's confidentiality, so I can't tell you the names of who they were, but trust me, they were very famous people, and all they did was create problems for me. Okay. All right. So, don't you want to guess? Somers teased. He was enjoying this. If the smooth, fun-loving doctor hadn't become a surgeon, he surely would have been a comedian. However, I was quickly growing tired of the game. Hey, Edgar, let's stop the bullshit. Tell me who it is. Michael Jackson, he proudly announced. Well, well, well. After all these years, I thought to myself, I knew the king of pop had been to Somers' office before. When I had thought of starting an in-office anesthesia practice 8 years earlier, I had approached Edgar Somers, in partly because I knew Michael Jackson had been a patient. It wasn't that I had any particular interest in Michael, but his presence indicated that Somers ran the kind of practice that would benefit from an office-based anesthesiologist. I asked him about the upcoming procedure. Nothing major, just some small facial work. It would take about an hour. We agreed I would use monitored sedation, and I asked about Michael's general state of health. Underweight, and he has the skin condition vitiligo, Somers answered. There were no other special issues. What we didn't discuss was Michael's alleged drug problem. I was aware from what I had read in the press that Michael had some kind of issue with painkillers and sleep meds. Years before, I too had battled drug addiction. I was sensitive to patients with similar problems, and I had specific ways of dealing with their anesthesia, mainly making sure they didn't feel high. And I talk about my drug addiction extensively later on in the book. Okay, I hung up and gazed out my balcony window. My wife Leanne and I lived in an apartment on the top floor of an Upper East Side building near Manhattan's East River. The views across the city and out over the water never failed to amaze me. Even better, the building was a convenient walking distance to the offices where I worked. I was finished with surgeries for the day and had planned to go to the gym. Now I paced around the living room as I waited for the call. Half an hour later, the phone rang. I was nervous, and when I get nervous, my voice starts to quiver. I didn't want Michael to hear it. I waited a couple of rings, took a few deep breaths, and answered, "Hello, Ratner?" I knew immediately from the high-pitched, almost childlike voice it was Michael Jackson. I was a little surprised by the Ratner, not Dr. Ratner or even Neil. I didn't know it then, but that was Michael. He used only last names or nicknames, although he didn't have one for himself. In our 8 years together, he never called me Neil, and I always called him Michael. We exchanged a few pleasantries, then I got down to the business of talking about the anesthesia. Within a minute or two, he interrupted. "Ratner, are you going to use the milk?" I was taken aback by the question. By milk, he meant propofol, a white milky substance, very different from the alternative clear medications we also used. The introduction of propofol some years earlier had greatly improved the safety of in-office anesthesia. It also offered a much better experience for patients. So much so that they had begun asking for the drug by its chemical name, propofol, or its brand name, Diprivan. I laughed to myself. Within the anesthesia community, propofol had a nickname, Milk of Amnesia. Michael knew our little inside joke. I assured him that propofol would be part of my anesthetic technique. You know what? I think I'm going to stop there. Well, no, I'll go a little further. A unique aspect of what I did in the operating room was including the use of music through headphones. My experiences in the music business had taught me about the power of music. Great music comes from a deep emotional place and has the ability to generate similar emotions in listeners. Putting headphones on a patient had proven to be a valuable way to decrease anxiety and increase levels of relaxation. I explained this to Michael. It was a topic of great interest to him. He had used headphones during anesthesia before and wondered how music affected altered states of consciousness. "Do you think it matters what type of music?" Michael mused. "People often concentrate on lyrics, preventing them from relaxing," I replied. "So as long as it's non-worded and spiritually uplifting, it's up to you." All right, that's a good place to stop. Music, medicine, that's sort of what my life is about. That's a lot of what the book is about. So, more next week. And let me know what you think of this. And I'll see you real soon. And as I always say, keep on rocking. Bye.